So first up in the news this week is the rumors that Google is going to be launching a non-Nexus branded phone later this year. These
it's going to be called the Google Surface.
Wow.
Sorry.
But thank you, Brian. So the rumors are that Google is going to be launching this branded phone, which is not a Nexus phone, by the end of 2016, mainly in an effort to compete directly with the iPhone. The fact that the majority of Android phones are made by other manufacturers is something that apparently now Google is starting to look at, and Google wants to take greater control over the design and building of their phones. Our favorite person, sources familiar with the discussions, told the Telegraph that Google is in discussions with operators and manufacturers that could see it jumping into producing their own phone, much like the Pixel C.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what that means. Will it be like a Nexus? Will it get all the updates? Is Nexus dead?
Well, and that's the big question, is that what's the difference between a Google-branded phone, a Google phone, and a Nexus phone? You know, I mean, yes, the fact that the Nexus phone is manufactured by another manufacturer, and this would be manufactured by Google, but would there be any difference? Florence, what do you make of it?
Well, Webster's dictionary defines nexus as a connection or series of connections linking two or more things. So considering the nexus is supposed to connect the developers into one little pool of developers all developing on the same level playing field, I imagine the Google phone would just be something more for consumers to really harness the power of what Google can offer. That's my take.
But wasn't that what Nexus was? That what the Nexus is supposed to do? I don't know.
Well, I feel like they were always so developer centric until recently, when we started to actually see, you know, actual ads for the Nexus phones advertised to kind of like the average consumer. Right. So I don't know. I feel like they are going to exist in two different spheres, or Nexus is dead, and maybe this is why they're calling it the Google phone, because they're sick of having this branding, this weird branding that people don't really understand.
And maybe it's made by HTC.
Well, no, this will be manufactured by Google.
But it's really made by HTC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's going to be later on the hardware. We're going to touch upon that. But
I mean, there's this rumor. I mean, you guys talked about it last week, I'm sure, the Nexus HTC rumor. Right?
That's coming later in the hardware.
So to me, the fact that we have that rumor from HTC and then there's rumor of a Google phone, it would mean both, which is kind of weird, right?
It would be weird if there was a Nexus phone that was manufactured by HTC and whatever this Google phone is that's manufactured by Google. Again, I think, and the thing is, to us, it's getting confusing and cloudy, but to the consumer, they just want an Android phone.
Right.
So does
Really?
it matter? Does it matter?
So?
Well, I don't mean.
No, they just want a Galaxy, actually.
Exactly.
Look at the numbers.
Myriam.
I mean,
they just want a Galaxy. They're like, I want a Galaxy.
Yeah.
Or I want a Droid. They still call them Droid.
That's what I mean. Like, does the average consumer really care who makes it? You know, who's manufacturing it? Right?
Average consumer?
Yeah.
I mean, we care, right? Like, I switched from a 5X to a 6P after CES, and I'm really happy with it. Although I have to say the OnePlus 3 is really giving my Nexus a run for its money right now.
Right.
But that's it, right? Other than that, like, most people don't even think of buying a OnePlus or a Nexus. They'll buy a Samsung.
Not think about a OnePlus. They think about Samsung.
They don't even think of buying an LG G5.
Right.
Most of them end up with one.
And they
end up with one because the carrier store
it's on sale
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll end up with an HTC 10 if they're lucky.
Right.
When HTC sells 10 HTC 10s in the US.
Right. Well, I mean, but the thing is, I think what happens is that you see the average consumer who goes into a Verizon store or into a T-Mobile store, they get sold a phone, and then you see that's the moment that a brand loyalty is established. Right. And either they have a positive experience, like in the case I always use my sister, who I recommended she get the HTC M8 years ago. And she just recently, she needed a new phone and she wanted the next, I want the M10. That's the next phone. That's the one I'm loyal to.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that. But honestly, look, the thing is this year with the GS7 series, there's such a good phone.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's hard for me not to recommend it to an Android faithful, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
even for myself, I'm like, other than TouchWiz, I'm like, hardware-wise, you can't go wrong with that phone. It's
Oh, so
rock
true.
solid,
Speaking
right?
speaking of Samsung, actually, this past Saturday I was here at TWiT doing the new screensavers, and one of the members of the audience, Flo, had a active, like in the wild.
Like
Oh, GS7
with the
active?
camo?
Yeah, not the
camo?
It wasn't the camo though. Unfortunately, it was the black non-camo version. But I was impressed to see an active in the wild so quickly. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, I'm bringing my review unit to the Jersey Shore, so we'll see how the camo works there.
Don't lose it. You're gonna put it down on the beach, and you're not gonna be able to find it because of the camouflage.
No. Well, I thought you were gonna say because some juice-headed Guido's gonna come by and be like, "Oh man, this is a cool phone." I don't even know how a Guido sounds like, but anyway.
At least it's not the sand-colored camo. So.
So, Brian, the drums, please. But
Yeah. I was like, Brian, you missed this one.
Yeah, so.
I mean, look, I think there are a lot of thanks for the cricket. That was really timely. Thanks. The reality is, like, the three flagships, right? HTC, which, by the way, I was joking about selling 10 of them. I mean, it's a great phone. I really love it. But it's like the reality is people are going to buy a Galaxy or, maybe a G5 and then maybe a HTC in that order, if anything, right?
Right.
If they buy an Android phone and they're not like us, into the Nexus and the unlocked and the dual SIM and all that.
Right.
But it's like, how do you convince them to buy anything else? And that's why I'm like, the Nexus versus Google, they're diluting. It seems like they would dilute the thing.
I think the brand dilution is an issue, and it furthermore, what do they have to gain by this? Like, what about the Nexus program where they don't control the like if they want to control Android? What more control do you need other than the operating system? Are they that concerned? Like, and the thing is that with Daydream coming, with VR and all stuff like that, do they not have confidence that folks like HTC or whomever is not going to make a phone they want?
And I would argue that the Nexus 6P shows that they can basically ask anybody to make exactly the phone they want.
Right.
I mean, you compare that to any other Huawei phone, it's so different, right? And so it tells me that I'm just really confused with this Google thing. I mean, maybe it's a Google One play. Like, it's another approach. Maybe like it's more like a more accessible. Maybe it'll end up being like a Moto G, a mid-range phone that's for everyone, and the Nexus will be like
for the power user,
the developer phone.
I mean,
instead of like Android One existing, we would just have this like universal Google phone that just worked for every man and every woman in the world. And then
think about that though. If you take a phone that's not of the 6P level, but it's more mid-range phone, and if Google's controlling the manufacturing, they're controlling the supply chain, they can set the price. And if they start selling them for $149, then is that a way to break in? But the question is it going to be for sale in the Play Store or in carrier stores? Because we remember when they originally launched the Nexus phones, they were all available in the Play Store.
As soon as you say carrier stores, I get like shivers.
I know, but the majority...
I want to scratch myself because I feel dirty.
I know, yeah, me too. Average consumer, though, isn't going to go to the Play Store to buy the phone.
No, they're going to walk inside the carrier, or they're going to go to Best Buy, because people still go to Best Buy.
But where do they sell the Pixel C? And where do they sell the Pixel?
They sell the Pixel C at they sell it at Fry's. They sell it on the Play Store, as Ron said.
Yep.
Yeah, they have it like on display when you go in there.
I was joking about the Microsoft Pixel, the Surface earlier.
Right.
And does the Surface phone, well, there's no Surface phone yet, but do the Lumias get sold by carriers? The last two that exist?
They tuck them into the very far back of
But they
the
exist
room.
in carriers. Yeah, of course they'd get tucked.
So they do. Well, I haven't been to a carrier store recently. It depends if Microsoft is still paying for that kiosk spot.
And the Surfaces, the actual tablets, can you buy them like at Best Buy?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And
They have them at Verizon too. Like they show you can get LTE for them or whatever. And
I'm looking at the Pixel C on Amazon right now for sale. It says the seller is Google, so it's all legit. So they're doing their best there. I don't know. This just seems. But also, we've heard this rumor before, haven't we? I mean, before Nexus is rolled out, we always hear that they're doing it on their own, and then they announce it with a partner. So
I'm so jaded, I don't really care anymore.
All right,
Say I'm done.
That's the way to do it.
I just want another, whatever it's called, a Google phone or a Nexus. I want another phone that can make me go like, this is going to be my daily driver for a year, like my 6P is.
Right.
I should have gotten a 6P right away. I used the 5X for a while. That was a mistake.
Well, yeah, the 5X.
Bad mistake.
Yeah, so.